Today we continue to talk about our Lenten campaign, which is the many faces of need. And if you've been with us the last few weeks, you know that mental illness is something that is often hidden in plain sight. And today we will hear from one of our own, Susan McBrayer, who will share a little bit more about her story as well. And as we think about this campaign, we're trying to raise $71,000 this Lenten season to go to West Bergen Mental Health and also to our mission partners that do support the vulnerable, often which mental illness has fallout from, including the homeless and our partners in Patterson. So we invite you to prayerfully consider what you might contribute to this campaign, because we are recognizing that things like cancer and diabetes and even heart disease are not visible either, but yet we're comfortable talking about those diseases and sharing about those diseases with one another. When it comes to mental health, it's quite private, isolating, and many suffer in need. 1 in 4, the statistic is, are suffering with mental health. So, Susan, we thank you so much for being here, for being vulnerable enough to share your story with us, and for your willingness to help open up the stigma around this thing called mental illness.
Thank you for the opportunity.
I understand that your brother has been diagnosed with a mental illness. Would you please share with us a little bit about his diagnosis and also what his life is like?
My brother Mark is 3 years younger than I am. He lives in Dallas, Texas. And his diagnosis is bipolar disorder with psychotic tendencies. So Mark struggled a lot in childhood and also in adolescence, but seemed to do okay. He did drop out of college after 2 years and had a lot of shame about that. But then he had a job, and when he reached about the age of 35, he began having many more problems keeping jobs. And when he was 38, he had his first major psychotic breakdown. So for those of you who don't know what a psychotic breakdown is, it means you become insane. I didn't know what a psychotic breakdown was. So what I love about this campaign is that we are using it to educate people to understand. Mental illness is not a character defect. It is not a lack of integrity. It is not a lack of a work ethic. It is not parents enabling a child. There have been periods in my family's evolution with this illness where we thought maybe we are enabling him. And no. We take things away. He cannot do what is necessary, although he appears to be very high functioning. And he was very candid in wanting me to share with you today. So he wants the stigma to be erased.
And you shared at the earlier services, if we were to meet Mark today, we may not know this about him.
Yes.
Because mental illness is something, again, that is hidden in plain sight. Would you share with us a little bit about how an agency has supported him or you and your family? Michael Tozzoli a few weeks ago said that treatment works, and statistics prove that. And so would you share with us a little bit about that?
Yes, 22 years ago, after Mark's first psychotic break, we found Planned Living Assistance Network of Dallas, which is specifically an agency, unlike West Bergen, which is really a large umbrella agency. This agency is an agency that helps adults struggling with mental illness who are being cared for by aging parents. So this was the right place for Mark. We have been supporting this agency for 22 years, and it has provided structure, life skills classes, counseling at a more affordable dollar sign, and probably most importantly, community.
Thank you for sharing that. And I know you had also mentioned when we were talking about the financial impact this has had on your family, even as a sister. Could you say a little bit more about that and how that might relate to what we need to know about this campaign that we are raising funds for?
Mark's illness changed my life. I had had a little bit of therapy before Mark's illness. I went right in there and had 10 to 15 more years. I really was frightened. Mm-hmm. I probably had PTSD. I didn't want this for myself. I didn't want this for my children. I had tremendous anxiety. The beauty of learning about things and understanding what they are, that this is a biochemical thing, and that it has to be managed, has been a great, great gift to my family as well as to Mark. We know this is something that has to be managed. It's not very visible, just as juvenile diabetes is not visible. But once you have it, you will need to be managing it for the rest of your life.
Can you say a little bit about, I know it's been a difficult journey for you and your family, and it has impacted the choices that you have even made in your own life, about the light. Is there any light for those of us who are learning more about the illness, many of the mental illnesses that we've been talking about, and may know someone who is silently suffering, or we ourselves might be silently suffering? Where is there some light and hope in this for you and your family and your brother?
When Penny first asked me this question, I was kind of like, oh dear, I don't know what the light is. Because it's been a very challenging struggle. Then the more I thought about it, the more I thought about all the wonderful things that my family has received as a result of this. First of all, we've all had therapy, and we've all connected in our spiritual centers, in our churches. Probably the best thing about the best light is that there is treatment. For a long time, it looked like my brother just had a drinking problem, but it was a much more serious problem than that. And there is treatment. He no longer substance abuses. He does not have compulsive behaviors that were helping him with his disorder. So the light is that there is treatment and there is hope. And I would say the other light is this journey has made my family extremely connected. And I think there's a lot of love in my family.
Thank you for sharing that. I know it can be disabling for some families who do not even have the resources to seek the therapy that they might need, or for the individual, which is where our campaign helps come in and fill the gap for people. You had shared with me that you and Gary are supporting this campaign. Would you say a little bit about why that's important to you and why we might join you in that?
Gary and I wholeheartedly support this campaign. Without an agency to support my brother, we would not be able to work the way we work. We would not be able to interact with him with knowledge and love and education. And there are so many forms of mental illness that, as Michael said, 1 in 5. It probably took my brother years to get the help that he needed. I love that this stigma is being blown away for us to all talk about this. And I invite all of you to join Gary and I in supporting in whatever way you can this ministry to give to West Bergen. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan, for sharing with us. Let us now continue to worship the Lord with our anthem this morning.